Greetings from South Dakota. This is Jade Barrett, and this is Surviving the Tournament Environment number 2. Being prepared to play. Being prepared to play means that when you sit down, you don't have any distractions, right? You've cleared your mind of that. You're going to be doing your best that you can to be focused. Maybe you've studied your notes. Maybe you've played a few hands in advance. But maybe you're allowing other things to get in the way. Oh, like dinner, or maybe there was just a conversation you had that didn't bother you so much, but is still sort of up here. Or maybe you're concerned about the time or the pressure of time, or where your partner is, or am I ready to play? All of those things need to be sort of in place. Having your notes kind of helps, but nothing replaces having the language of the game be conversational between you and your partner. So it helps me to have a call with my partner or to socialize with them for a minute or 2 or 5 before I sit down and play, because that puts me in the frame of reference to who I am working with and for. All partnerships are like a contract. You've agreed to play with somebody for whatever the amount of time is, this session, be a short match or a long match, but you have agreed to put yourself in the position to be there for them, not just for yourself. And unfortunately, in this game, the more self-focused you are, generally the worse your results are. There's a lot of articles about your partner's the most important person, yada, yada, yada. I want to talk to it about a different thought process to this. Your partner and you, despite your style differences, despite your learning experience, and sometimes despite your experience levels as players, are a unit. Now, part of the problem with this unit is that you have to count on the fact that your partner cannot read your mind. So what you say is vitally important, but what you don't say is even more so. To the point where when my partner doesn't open, the things that go through my head are they don't have a weak 2, they don't have a preempt, they don't have a strong no trump, they don't have an opening bid. They, in fact, don't have any hand that could have taken an initial action. That helps. Because later in the auction, say they're passed and they start bidding, I know they couldn't open, and I know what our baseline for opening agreements are. I also know that we have some style things that we've talked through, often just before the game starts, like we play structured weak 2s, as I've mentioned in an earlier video. We play 2 of the top 3 when we open a weak 2 in the first 2 seats. We'll open a no trump every time we can, sometimes with 5-card majors, sometimes with 6-card minors, rarely, but possibly, with a singleton, queen, king, or ace. And all of that is within our agreements. So if a partner doesn't open a no trump, they can't have that hand. The same way that if they open a heart, they can't have longer spades. If they open anything that eliminates other things, we push those aside. But what we are is focused on our partners and the people that we're in a social contract with, our opponents. I always greet the opponents. I always acknowledge them. And the reason that I do is to remind myself, not just because of the social benefit of it and the fact that I know many of them, but because I need to be engaged with all the people at the table, not just my partner, and certainly not just myself. What the opponents do or don't do is a big part of our decision process. Knowing what they play, when they alert, asking what they're doing, not making assumptions about their carding or their leads. I will ask people if they will open a no trump with a 5-card major if their card is not readily available to me. I will ask them if they're 3-3 in the minors, if they always open a club. In auctions in which that matters to me. And sometimes people think the questions are frivolous, but they're not. It lends itself to understanding what people may or may not do. For example, when a Jack 10 or 9 is led, I always ask what it is. And I ask what it is because there are pairs who play that those Jacks deny a higher honor, that 10s or 9s might have 2 higher. Some people play the lower of touching honors when they lead. And I need to know those things. And because they are socially responsible for telling me what their agreements are, because they're not allowed to have concealed agreements, they'll tell me. And I get to use that. My partner and I have the same sort of agreements that we need to be aware of. That, we don't lead 4th best or 3rd and 5th. We lead low when we are interested in having the suit returned. Little things, but they mean a lot. And the way that we prepare for our first foray into the tournament environment that day, that week, that month, is to talk about what our style is. It's not enough to say that, do you play 4-card or 5-card majors? Do you play a forcing no trump? Do you play 2/1? More importantly, it is to ask that if you open a no trump and I bid 2 spades, what is it? Because in different parts of the world, those are different things. And I can think of 6 or 7 different forms of 2/1 and no trump structures in which this device means a lot of different things. So one of the dangers of assuming that you know what something is that you don't really know. That will contribute to random results, and it contributes and almost always generates poor ones. So if you haven't discussed something and you survived it, you're lucky. If you've discussed something and you didn't survive it, that's part of life. The biggest skill, the best skill to develop is serenity. To recognize that in this game, just like in life, you can do everything right and still fail. However, over a period of that lifetime, you're going to be successful a lot more often if you have good baseline communication, that you're comfortable in the environment with your partner, even if you are anxious about playing in competition. And if you know that both of you have a common goal. Thanks for listening. This is Jade Barrett. How to survive the tournament environment.